Welcome students. In today's class we are going to learn about functions in Python. I'm going to do it as two different videos. This is one half of Python functions and this is present in chapter 7 in Tamil Nadu textbook. What are functions? Functions are building blocks of a code that are designed to do a specific job. We can even call it as a group of related statements that perform a specific task. When you need to perform a specific task many times and you want to repeat the task again and again at different parts in a program, you need not retype the code again. Instead, use the same code at the different places that you want to use them. So suppose you want to find the average of marks obtained by a student in a class. The procedure for obtaining the average is the same for all the students. So you can use it as a code, write it as a code, and then reuse it at different times at different places. Therefore, what does this function subprogram do? It creates modularity in your program and it helps you to easily write, read, and test and fix errors. There are a lot of advantages of functions, and the main two advantages of functions are it avoids repetition of code, so that you need not rewrite the code but reuse the code again and again, and it provides better modularity to your application. So now I'm going to talk about what is modularity, because we are going to stress on modular programming at this point. And before we deal with the functions in Python, I'll tell you what is modular programming. The process of subdividing a computer program into separate subprograms are called modular programs. So, what is the advantage of this modular programming? If there is a big application that has to be carried out, you divide the application into simple, small modules, and each programmer will take a module to write it. So, once this module is done by each programmer, all these modules can be integrated into one unit and put in the application. Modules are part of a program that work independently, and it enables the programmers to run and debug the program independently. It is closely related to each other, but only thing they are individual modules which are developed individually and then integrated into one long application. So now we'll go on. A typical example of modular programs are procedures, functions, and subroutines. So now I'm going to define what is a function. Okay, what are the advantages of function and what is a function? Functions are named blocks of code that are designed to do a specific job. Advantages of functions are three important advantages are there. It avoids repetition of codes and enables reusing of code. It gives you modular approach for your program and also helps you to write the modules individually, debug them individually, and then integrate them into long lengthy programs. These are the three advantages. That is, you can reuse the code, you can use them in different applications, write the code individually, and integrate them into a lengthy program. What is a function? Okay, there are four types of functions in Python. They are user defined function, built-in function, lambda function, and recursive function. User defined function, as the very word says, when the user is defining the function, we call it as user defined function. It's a flexible function. It can be defined however the user wants it. Built-in functions are inbuilt functions or library functions which are in the Python interpreter, which are already incorporated into the Python interpreter. It can be called and used in many places as you want. Lambda functions are otherwise called as anonymous functions or unnamed functions. Okay, and recursive functions helps you to call the function many times by itself. So these are four different functions which are there in Python programming. Now I'm going to talk about what is user defined function. Okay, to define one's own function, we use the keyword def. If the user wants to define the function, he will use a keyword called def. What is a keyword? Keyword is a reserved word used in Python programming language. We use this keyword def followed by the function name. This function name can be any name, but it should not be a keyword, Python keyword. It can be any name for that matter, followed by the parameter list. So if you have three parameters, you say parameter 1, parameter 2, parameter 3. After this defining the function statement, the next comes the block of code. So this block of code which is within the function will be indented, and the last block of code will be the return statement. So that is the last statement in a function definition program. So this return statement will return back an expression to the calling statement, or it will just say return. When it says return without an expression, it means it's returning none. It returns no value back to the calling statement. So this syntax clearly gives you def is the keyword, followed by the function name, followed by the parameter list, then the block of statements, and return is the last statement in the def function. What are the advantages of this user-defined functions? See, functions normally help us to divide a program into modules. And when you divide the program into modules, it means that different programmers can work on each of these modules and then integrate them into a lengthy program. They allow us to change the functionality easily, and different programmers can work on it at from different places. So every time you need to execute a sequence of statements, all you need to do is to call the function. So there is reusing of code available in a user-defined function. The example of a function subprogram, as I already told you, just look at the screen. You will see def is the keyword that you're using, and the name of the function is sample. The name of the function can be any name, but it should not be a keyword, followed by a parenthesis. This parenthesis, inside the parenthesis, you're supposed to have parameter list, but this is a function without the parameter. Next comes your print function, then comes your return. Return is the last statement in the function subprogram. And the last statement that is written there, sample, is called the calling statement. So this calling statement calls for the function by name sample. So control is transferred from that point to the definition statement on top, and all the codes within the definition function will be evaluated one after the other. So if this program is executed on screen on the computer, you will find, or you will get an output which says my first program, because the print statement has this string my first program. The next example that I'm going to teach you is the return having no argument at all. So now look at this same program I'm doing here, but the only difference here is sample is the name of the function, def is the keyword that you're using, there is no parameter list, there is a print statement with the string written as my first program. This return statement has no expression there, so it's a none statement. And another thing that you should remember is the calling statement is incorporated along with the print function. So you're using print within bracket sample. Sample is the name of the function that you're going to call, and this sample function is incorporated along with the print function. So what happens in this case is, when this print function is calling for the function by name sample, the sample function is evaluated and the print statement is encountered. It will print my first program. The return statement has no value, so it returns back to the calling statement. This calling statement by itself is another print statement, therefore none is printed out. I told you already, return statement should return an expression, a value, or none. Since there is no expression and no value given after the return statement, it is returning none as the output for the print statement. The example of function subprogram with the parameter. So this will clearly show you how we are using parameter list here. The name of the function that I've used here is area. Okay, so if you see the first line there, that is a comment line statement that says to calculate the area of a rectangle. The second line is a definition of the function area, def area within bracket L comma B. L and B are two parameters that I'm using there. The next I'm going to write return L into B. I'm returning an expression which is multiplying the value of L and B together and returning back to the calling statement. Which is your calling statement? Print area 6 comma 3. As you see here, in this function subprogram, there are two arguments that you're passing. What are the two arguments? 6 and 3. So the first argument will relate to the first parameter, that is L. The second argument will relate to the second parameter, that is B. So when you say L into B, 6 into 3 is multiplied and the output 18 is printed on the screen. The next slide, I'm going to tell you about the difference between the word parameter and argument. See, normally we use these two, sometimes we use these two in mixed places. But there is a slight difference between the word parameter and argument. As you know, parameters are variables that are used in the function definition statement, and arguments are values that you pass to the function parameter. So this is the major difference, and unknowingly we mix up these two words, parameter and argument, and use them at different places. But theoretically speaking, parameters are variables used in the function definition statement, and arguments are values that are passed to the parameters. The next slide, I'm going to talk about the different types of function arguments. Okay, there are 4 different types of function arguments in Python: required argument, keyword argument, default argument, and variable length argument. These are the 4 different types of function arguments in Python. The first is required argument. Required argument is very simple, and all of us have studied it. And we know this required argument, the positional order should be correct. That is, the number of values that you're going to pass from the calling statement to the function definition statement should be the same. Arguments passed to the function should be in the correct positional order. Number of arguments from the calling statement to the function definition statement should be the same, and at least one parameter should be there to prevent syntax errors. Okay, so now look at this example here. The name of the function is print string. Okay, def print string, within bracket I've given one parameter str. Str is a parameter that I'm using here. Within this function I'm using 2 print statements. First print statement says example for required argument. Second print statement says print str and then return. The last is your calling statement. This calling statement print string with the dummy parenthesis there, which means that the argument list is missing there in the calling statement. Actually, truly speaking, in required argument, if there is one argument, there should be one parameter in the definition statement. If there are 2 arguments in the calling statement, there should be 2 parameters in the definition statement. But since the argument is missing there in the calling statement, this particular program will throw up an error on screen. As per rule, it should be in positional order. If there are 2 arguments, there should be 2 parameters. If there are 3 arguments, there should be 3 parameters, but there should be at least one parameter in the function definition statement. So this is the requirement of a required argument function. Now look at this example. In this example, you see the same program I've taken. Print string is the name of the function. In the function definition statement, you have str as one parameter. In the calling statement, you have one value that you're going to pass. And what is the value that you're going to pass? Welcome. So what happens in this case? This value is passed to this variable called str. So when you have 2 print statements, the first print statement will print example for required argument. The second print statement will print the value of str, which is welcome. So this is the correct program. One argument in the calling statement, one parameter in the function definition statement. And it's in the same positional order, so there will be no error, and exactly the output will come as given there in the print statement. The second type of argument list in functions are keyword arguments. You all know what is the meaning of the word keyword. Keyword means reserved word. Okay, so this keyword argument will invoke functions after the parameters are recognized by the parameter names. Okay, as you see in this example, you can see I'm given the name of the function as print data. How many parameters I'm passing there? Only one parameter called name. If you come there to the calling statement, print data, I'm saying name equal to Sundar. What is the keyword here? Name is the keyword here. Name equal to, I have assigned name equal to Sundar. So what happens when control is transferred to the function definition statement, in the place of name it is going to print Sundar. So the output here will be example keyword argument. In the next print statement you have given name followed by the value of the name that is to be printed out, that is Sundar will be printed out. But the list of parameters and the arguments in the calling statement need not be in the same order. It can be in a mixed jumbled order. See, I'll show you how, if you have a jumbled order, what happens. In the next slide, if you see, I'm going to pass two arguments in the calling statement. What are the two arguments? Age equal to 25, name equal to Sundar. Okay, if you look at the definition statement, function definition statement, I've given name comma age, but in the argument I'm giving age comma name. They are jumbled, they are interchanged. It doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter at all, doesn't throw up an error. There is no problem if you write the parameter list and the argument list in the jumbled manner. But remember that you're using the keyword here, name for name of the person, age for age of the person. You're passing these two arguments to the calling statement. Which is the calling statement? The first statement is the calling statement. Print data name comma age. So what happens in this case? There are three print statements. In the first print statement, you're going to print example 2 keyword arguments. Second print statement, you're going to print the name as Sundar. The third print statement, you're going to print the age as 25. So this is a typical example of a keyword argument. The next is default or argument. All of you know what is the meaning of this word default. When you don't give a value, it takes up a value of its own, that is called as default. Now, if no value is provided in the function call statement, it takes a default value. Now look at this example here. As you know, what is the name of the function that I've used? Print info. The last statement is your calling statement. Print info, within bracket I've given only one argument. What is that argument? Sundar. Okay. In this example, it passes the value Sundar to the function definition statement. Name comma salary equal to 3500. I am having two parameters there. One parameter is name, the other parameter is salary. As you know, you have passed the name of the person to be Sundar and salary is the default value given there is 3500. So when you execute this program, by default the salary is taken to be 3500 and the name that you have passed on to the function definition statement, Sundar, will be printed. So this is a typical example of a default argument function. In this default argument function, if the default value can also be ignored, you know how it will ignore the default value. Now look at the same example I've given here. I'm going to pass in the last line print info is the name of the function, Sundar comma 2000. Sundar is the name and 2000 is the salary. I'm passing two values here. So what happens when these two values are passed to the function definition statement? The name will be printed as Sundar and salary will be printed as 2000. It will ignore the default value given there in the parameter list. So 3500 is ignored and the value that you pass only will override the default value. So this is an example when you pass the value, the default value will be ignored and the value that you pass will be taken into account. The last one is the variable length argument. This variable length argument here it's very simple. See, in case you want to pass more argument values than the parameter list, it becomes there will be some kind of disclarity in it and it becomes difficult for the computer to evaluate it. So what happens is, if you're going to pass more argument values and we don't know how many we are going to pass, then you can use an asterisk in the place of the parameter list in the function definition statement. Now look at this syntax that I've given here. Def is the keyword that you use, followed by the function name, followed by the parameter list. You're using an asterisk there for the parameter list. Okay, colon followed by the body of the function and the return statement. So what happens in this case is, in this case, if you see here on screen, I've used the function name to be sum. How many arguments I'm passing there in the calling statement is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. 5 values I'm passing. But how many parameters I've given there in the function definition? Only 3 parameters. So what happens in this case is, the number of arguments that you're going to pass is more than the number of parameter list that you have declared. So it's going to throw up an error on screen. What happens? X will take the value 5, Y will take the value 10, Z will take the value 15. But the other two values 20 and 25 doesn't have a parameter there. So this program will throw up an error on screen because the number of the argument list is more than the number of the parameter list. So to avoid this, you must make sure you use an asterisk there in the function definition statement. You see the next slide there. The same program, I'm going to use an asterisk there, and what happens in this case is, the name of the function is print numbers. So print numbers, def print numbers, within bracket I'm using an asterisk for the parameters. So the parameters are called as numbers, NOS, and asterisk is used to indicate any number of parameters that you want to. So this is a loop where I'm going to loop it as many times as I want to. See, if you're going to pass the first print numbers calling statement has got only two values, 1 and 2. So you're going to pass as values 1 and 2. So what happens in this case? It will take the number of parameter list to be only 2 because you're going to pass two values there. For the last print number calling statement, where you're passing three values, 10, 20 and 30. So the parameter list in this case will be altered to three parameter list and not 2. So because of the asterisk there, any number of parameter list you can add on to the function definition statement. So this is very useful when we don't know how many parameters that we are going to pass through the function definition statement. Okay, in this variable length argument, in Python there are two different types of variable length argument functions. They are non-keyword variable argument and keyword variable argument. Non-keyword variable arguments are called tuples. You will not know what is tuple until we study this chapter on tuples and lists, which will come in the following video. So I'm not going to give you any information on tuple, but remember that non-keyword variable arguments are called tuples. Keyword variable arguments are another chapter by itself, which is not there in your syllabus. So it is beyond the scope of this textbook. So we are not going to work much on that, but you should know that there are two different types of variable length arguments in Python. They are non-keyword variable argument and keyword variable argument. This is just one half of the functions in Python that I have dealt in this video. Another video that will follow will have the second half of Python functions. Once you finish this, then you can go on to view the next video. Thank you, students. I hope you've understood everything. If you have not understood, go back again to go through the slides to have a recap of the whole thing. Already there's a video on control structures on chapter 6. Chapter 6 is already there, which is loaded in. You can have a look at that also before you go on to read Python functions. Thank you, students, for watching.